Thank you for checking out Real Talk Personal Finance. Shit's about to get real. Cash Flow King with you today, and today in episode 30, Timely Financial Nuggets. Before we get into today's show, just wanted to take a moment to give a couple of shout outs. I think last show we might have been up to 17 or 18 countries, and usually there were just one or two more that would pop online, and it was pretty easy to see where that was. But we are up to 21 countries now. I've actually started a spreadsheet. So I want to give, and I'll read those in sequential order here in just a moment, but I want to give a special shout out to France, who jumped up. Other than the U.S., they are now the top listening country to the Real Talk Personal Finance podcast. So shout out to France for tuning into the show. I'll try to go through these really quickly in sequential order from 1 to 21 in terms of listenership. Number 1, of course, we are a U.S.-based show, so we have the United States. Number 2, France. Number 3, South Africa. 4, Australia. 5, United Kingdom. 6, India. 7, Germany. 8, Russian Federation. 9, Pakistan. 10, Philippines. 11, Israel. 12, Japan. 13, Malaysia. 14, Dominican Republic. 15, Canada, and I believe that's new, so thank you all over there. 16, Lithuania. 17, Hong Kong. I believe that might be new. 18, Vietnam. 19, Singapore. 20, Mexico. And 21, Kenya. I believe Kenya is also new to the list. So thanks and shout out to everybody listening to the show. We greatly appreciate it. Today's episode's probably going to be a short one. There were some recent announcements, and there's actually a couple days from now some additional announcements that are going to be coming out. So I couldn't really find the exact best time to launch this show, but given the fact that we are kind of during open enrollment season right now, for those of you that are employees working for an organization, chances are sometime in October or November, either you have or will soon be enrolling in your benefits at work. There's also been some announcements on some contribution limits and such that have come out recently, and there's a couple other things going on. So I thought I would just drop a quick show on some timely financial nuggets. So the first thing that I wanted to touch on briefly is that the 401k limits are going up. The elective deferral limit for employee contributions is going up in 2023. The current limit here in 2022 is $20,500. The new normal limit in 2023 for elective deferrals will be $22,500. So it's going up $2,000 next year. Also going up is the age-based catch-up provision for those that are age 50 and above. That number was in 2022 $6,500. So that's the amount you could contribute on top of the limits I just mentioned, the normal limits. That number is going up to $7,500 in 2023. So starting next year in 2023 for 401k and similar plans, the elective deferral limit is $22,500, and for those eligible age 50 plus, you will have an additional $7,500 catch-up provision, bringing the grand total allowable elective deferral to $30,000 in 2023. So that's something I wanted to bring up. IRA limits also went up slightly, so IRA, Roth IRA types of accounts. Currently in 2022, the limit is $6,000. The limit is going up slightly in 2023 to $6,500. However, the catch-up provision for those age 50 and above will remain at $1,000. So max you can put into an IRA for 2023 is going to be $6,500 if you're under age 50, and if you're 50 and above, you can do that extra $1,000 that didn't change, which brings your total to $7,500. So if you're looking at a 401k IRA type of combo under age 50, your all-in max amount is going to be about $29,000. And if you are age 50 plus, you got the, what is that, $37,500, $30,000 from the 401k type plan. and an additional $7,500 on the IRA side. Another thing for Roth IRAs, and if you're not familiar with those, please check out the Roth IRA episodes we've done previously. There's some phase outs for those plans. It's going to start next year in 2023 at $138,000 if you're single, and the phase out range will run from $138,000 up to $153,000. For those that are married filing jointly, the Roth IRA contribution phase out range will start at $218,000, and that will phase out all the way up to $228,000. And that's to make direct contributions to a Roth IRA. If you are above those income limits, check out our, I believe it's the Intermediate Concept show on Roth IRAs, where we talk about things like the backdoor Roth IRA that might be applicable to your situation. If you're well below those limits, not to worry, you're still able to make a direct contribution to a Roth IRA. And again, if you're not familiar, check out the Roth IRA Basics show that we've done previously. Something else with Social Security, we've talked, I believe, at different times on the show about what's called the taxable wage base. That number went up pretty substantially. So Social Security retirement benefits are funded through payroll taxes. You know, for those that are employees, you put in your portion. Typically, your employer pays their portion. Also for self-employment wages and such. And so that number in 2022 was $147,000. So if you earned above that, you no longer paid that 6.2% employee portion towards Social Security through payroll taxes. Well, now that number in 2023 is going up to $160,200. So that means you will pay that 6.2% towards Social Security and OASDI on up to $160,200 of wages. And if you earn above that amount, then you would not pay the 6.2% on anything additional. So that was a pretty big jump on the taxable wage base. If you're well under those limits, then basically, as long as you're working in a position where you're contributing to Social Security, you're going to pay 6.2% on whatever you make, basically. For those that are actually receiving Social Security benefits, they got a nice cost of living adjustment that's going to kick in 2023. So the benefit payments are actually going to go up by 8.7%. In these inflationary times, that's a pretty significant increase. Those numbers will be all over the board. There's even been years where it's been zero, but normally it goes up a little bit. This year, going into 2023, it went up quite a bit. And one of the reasons that's important, and we talk about this a lot just in the financial planning space, is that think of it kind of like if you were earning two different salaries at a job and you got the same percentage raise. So say somebody who earns $50,000, the next person earns $80,000, and they both get a 3% raise. Well, 3% is 3%, but it's more in dollars. It's a bigger deal on the $80,000 salary because you're starting with a higher base versus the $50,000. And similar concept here. So when you get into planning, which we're not going to do on today's show, but those are things to be thinking about because that 8.7% increase is based on whatever amount that individual was collecting. So in addition to ideas and strategies around when do you collect, at what age do you collect, do you wait, do you delay, what happens if you do that, the benefit generally goes up. And so you're going to get a cost of living adjustment on top of whatever amount you're receiving. Just a quick note on that. And then I think the final kind of a big deal with regard to I-bonds, which we've talked about on a previous show. I think the title of the show was Gut I-bonds. So go back and check that out if you want all the specifics on that. But those rates are set to change. I'm recording this episode today is Friday, October 28th, 2022. So depending on when you listen to this, it's probably going to be well past that. I'm going to try to get this out this weekend, and quite frankly, it might be too late by the time you hear this, but I believe today is going to be the deadline, and even that might be a stretch to basically purchase I-bonds at the current rate of 9.62% annualized and get that 9.62% annualized rate for the next 6 months, because it is said that the rate that will be paid for the next 6 month period, the annualized rate that will be paid over the next 6 months, is set to drop somewhere in they're expecting 6.47 to 6.48 range based on the CPIU. That, I believe, is going to be formally and officially released on November 1st, so just a few days from now, next Tuesday. But if you are looking to lock in a little bit higher of a rate for your initial 6 month period on those I-bonds, and you can get them issued by Halloween, basically, then you're good. And supposedly, in order for them to guarantee issue by then, the order was supposed to be placed essentially on their website, treasurydirect.gov, by today, October 28th, 2022. I've heard that there's so many people trying to get into these here sort of at the last minute that the site has been having trouble. So that might actually be a situation where that is not available. So just something else to keep in mind. And that's basically all I have for today's episode. I told you it was going to be a quick one. Just another couple quick announcements. I have recently added some things to all of the show notes in the show. So if you haven't checked out our offer on Instacart, feel free to check that out, and you will get free delivery on your first order of $35 or more with the link in the show. Also, for anybody that's considering starting their own podcast, we also have a link that's going to be listed there where you can get a $20 Amazon e-gift card with your second paid month if you utilize Buzzsprout, which is what I use for this podcast. And we will try to continue to monetize the podcast, and hopefully you guys will continue to try to support the show. We haven't had anybody click through and do anything just yet, so we're still earning $0 and in the red for hosting the show, but that's okay because I like doing it. But also the email address for the show, which is realtalkpersonalfinance@gmail.com. That's also going to continue to be posted sort of in the show notes at the bottom there. So you don't have to remember that. But if you ever have a question, a comment, a show idea, anything along those lines, you can simply click on the email link that's going to be listed there in your podcast app, and you should be able to email the show directly. So that's all we have today. Again, today is October 28th, 2022, date of this recording. We will see you in the next episode.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.